the overseas deployment of healthcare workers. Palace spokesman Harry Roque says this for medical professionals with overseas employment certificates from the POEA and verified employment contracts signed and prepared as of March 8, 2020. The national government previously suspended the overseas deployment of health professionals to make sure that the country has enough manpower to deal with the pandemic. Health workers may soon expect better hazard compensation amid the pandemic. This is after the Bicameral Conference Committee approved the Bayanihan 2 bill. Ria Fernandez with the report.
Private health workers treating COVID-19 patients may soon receive a special risk allowance worth at least 10,000 pesos. That's if the Bayanihan 2 bill becomes a law. Apart from the hazard pay, the BICAM-approved version of the bill also provided free life insurance, accommodation and transportation for frontliners. All in all, the bill allotted 10.5 billion pesos for the compensation of health workers. Nurse MJ Ansay said this is a welcome development. While waiting for the deployment ban on medical professionals to be lifted, MJ decided to work in a private hospital. She said the additional compensation could be used to buy appropriate PPEs, especially since she is assigned in the emergency room.
Kung magkakaroon, malaking tulong. Tulong na din siya. Kumbaga, hindi man siya malaki, pero better than nothing.
Meanwhile, for Nurse Donel Siazon, who is also heading the Union of Workers at the UST hospital, it is high time for their sacrifices in the private sector to be recognized. He praised the proposed special risk allowance will not be just another promise.
Sa amin kasi hindi pa nga ho kami nakakatikim doon sa mga paunang dapat para din doon sa mga frontliners.
Donel hopes the same benefits would be extended to other medical staff and hospital workers who do not directly engage with COVID-19 patients.
Paano naman ho yung mga nasa laboratories, yung mga medtechs ho natin? Paano naman po yung mga maintenance natin, janitors natin, na naglilinis din ng wards ng mga yan, na kumukuha din ng mga waste sa mga patient na tinamaan po ng COVID.
Still, Donel is optimistic that the Bayanihan 2 will eventually pave the way for the enactment of their Magna Carta, which they have been pushing for a long time. Meanwhile, House Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano hopes the additional compensation may entice health workers to stay and serve the country this time of pandemic. Aside from the special risk allowance, the Bayanihan 2 also guarantees financial assistance to medical workers who contract COVID-19 while on duty. For News 5, Ria Fernandez, We Are One News.
Total COVID-19 cases in the country rose past 178,000 with the addition of over 4,000 fresh cases today. There are now more than 61,000 active cases, comprised mainly of mild infections. More than half of the fresh cases reported still came from Metro Manila. Meanwhile, the death toll from the virus has inched towards a 3,000 mark with 88 more deaths. The DOH reported over 700 new recoveries today, pushing the total to over 114,000. The department also announced that it is now reporting real-time cases after finally finishing its test result backlogs. The DOH said they can now validate test results immediately after receiving them from laboratories. However, a study from the Ateneo de Manila University claims that nearly 3 million Filipinos may have contracted COVID-19 in the second quarter of the year, but only 1% or 34,000 cases have been reported. DOH spokesperson Maria Rosario Vergeres says they are now studying the said data. And businesses in and around the metro have reopened with stricter health protocols after the NCR and nearby provinces shifted back to GCQ or General Community Quarantine. Let's check out how things are going with Laila Pangilinan, who reports to us from Mandaluyong. Laila, how are things going? How are safety measures being observed out there this time around?
Sean, the second day of the general community quarantine shows the country's transition to the new normal as businesses cope with the government's guidelines to assure public health and safety. In In Bagong Silang, Caloocan City, passengers of modernized jeepneys have successfully practiced physical distancing. The no face mask and shield no ride policy are also being monitored closely by the modernized jeepney staff. Aside from temperature check and foot soak, cashless payment is also being implemented. Once inside a modernized jeep, plastic covers are noticeably installed. These serve as partition to maintain 1 meter distance of each passenger. In Mega Q-Mart in Quezon City, only few market goers are seen roaming. While in this salon, employees underwent rapid testing to ensure the safety of both clients and employees. Walk-ins are not allowed, and clients must go online for booking.
Kasi naka 50% yung capacity lang natin. So para naman ma-maximize natin yung pasok ng mga clients. Kaya tayo mayroong online booking.
In Banawe, Quezon City, dine-in services of this Chinese restaurant is again available. Before entering, customers must go inside a glass misting booth, undergo temperature check, step on the foot bath, and have their hands sanitized. Each customer must also fill out a health declaration form for contact tracing purposes. Aside from the usual barriers and physical distancing per table, plates are sterilized through this apparatus in an enclosed areas and cling wrapped along with the utensils. Tables and menus are also wiped clean every after use. And for those who want some privacy, they still offer their function rooms with a maximum of only 8 people allowed inside. For Lucy, being able to eat at a restaurant amid the GCQ is indeed a birthday party to remember.
Kahit papaano, nakalabas kami and we celebrated it.
Usually, pag birthday ni Mommy, talaga nagpapaparty kami sa house. But syempre, now na iba ang times ngayon, talagang kahit a small gathering na within the family, we try to celebrate it for our mom.
Meanwhile, Malacanang responded to a reported statement from Manila Auxiliary Bishop Broderick Pabilio, questioning why churches are allowed to open with only 10% capacity when places of worship are said to be safer than eating in restaurants and going to salons.
Itong pulisiya pong ito ay nabuo dahil din po nagkaroon po ng malawakan at mahabang konsultasyon sa mga alkalde ng Metro Manila dahil sila naman po magpapatupad ng kahit anong pulisiya na tinakda po ng IATF. At ito naman po ay nasa desisyon na rin ng mga mayor. Pasensya na lang po muna at gaya nga po sinabi ni GM Jojo, 10 araw lang po ito hanggang August 31.
Meanwhile, Sean, in Makati City, bars still remain closed, but if you still feel like taking a sip of your favorite alcoholic beverages, you may still do so if you dine in. That is, if you will only be allowed if you do not exceed the city's limit of 2 wine glasses, either 2 wine glasses, 2 bottles of beer, or 2 glasses of cocktails. Let's drink to that. Sean, back to you.
All right, cheers to that. It is a long weekend coming up. Thank you very much, Laila Pangilinan, reporting to us live from Mandaluyong. We'll be back with more stories after this quick break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News. I'm Sean Yao. NAIA has added more domestic flights one day after Metro Manila shifted back to GCQ or General Community Quarantine. But some passengers are still stranded in the airport as their flights remain canceled. Gerard De La Peña is reporting to us from the NAIA to tell us more about this. Gerard, how come the LSIs are still stranded when there are apparently more flights? What's going on?
Well, Sean, NAIA is once again teaming with passengers, but despite this, there are still a number of locally stranded individuals who are still unable to fly back to their home provinces. RJ Dumaton was supposed to fly to Manila from Zamboanga last week to process documents for his work as a seafarer. But because Metro Manila was under modified enhanced community quarantine in the past 2 weeks, he only arrived in Metro Manila today.
Dati pa sana, nung last week pa sana ako nag-book, tapos walang eroplano sa amin, sir.
At the Terminal 3, there are 17 departing flights and 17 more arriving. The Civil Aeronautics Board said between August 19 to 31, there are only 206 flights at the NAIA, a far cry from pre-pandemic conditions where air carriers operate thousands of flights in a month. At the rate we are going, it looks like forecasts of a 4-year recovery for the aviation sector will hold true.
The outlook is still quite bleak at overall, alam naman natin ang dahilan nito yung pandemya. Pero specifically, ang halos lahat ng bansa sa mundo, sa buong mundo ay nag-impose ng kani-kanyang mga restrictions.
On top of that, some 67 LSIs are still taking refuge at the NAIA. Many of them are bound for Bacolod. One of them is Danny Gante. He has been staying at the airport since Metro Manila was placed under MECQ on August 3.
Mas mabuti na nga dito kaysa doon kami sa labas na sa tulay lang, sa ilalim ng tulay lang may matulog.
Transportation officials explained most airports are open, especially for emergency situations. Only Iloilo and Bacolod have imposed restrictions at this point in time.
Meron pong pailan-ilan na nag-iiba. Halimbawa po, umabot na po yan nung nakaraan sa 35 airports, pero may mga nagbago po ng isip. Halimbawa po yung Iloilo at Bacolod, dahil na rin po sa sinabi nga po ni Yusek Raul kanina na puno po yung quarantine facilities dahil karamihan po ng ating mga seafarers at land-based OFW umuwi po doon.
Aviation officials vow to prioritize LSIs as soon as flights become available. Sean, just want to clarify that point there. There are 17 airports right now that are not operational, and aviation officials are reminding passengers that the situation right now remains fluid, and that means that flights can be cancelled depending on the prevailing conditions to be announced by local government units. Sean.
Right, so still better to double, triple, or quadruple check your flights. Thank you very much for that update, Gerard De La Peña, joining us live from the NAIA. The IATF now allows 24-hour food delivery services in Metro Manila. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque confirmed this in the IATF virtual presser earlier today. However, MMDA General Manager Jojo Garcia clarified that courier services are only allowed to transport food and nothing else beyond the unified curfew hours. For more updates, follow News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on News.